Hey guys, welcome back to another Devlog over here. Hope you guys have been doing great and wonderful on this day. I'm here giving you guys another Devlog. Let's see what we have in store for this Devlog here. Hope you guys are excited and looking forward to see what's happening. So for the past couple weeks, I've been going live. I've been doing live streams here, just fixing bugs during the live stream, implementing stuff, new features, and all of that. So if you guys have been in those live streams, thank you guys so much for being there. Or if you guys are watching it after it gets uploaded, thank you guys for watching it. Hope you guys enjoy those and looking forward to more in the future. So if you guys are brand new here or you just enjoy this content of me working on demos, games, going deep into code and doing my live streams, feel free to subscribe. And especially if you're brand new here, feel free to subscribe, and you can always change your mind later on, right? So thank you guys for being here and watching this devlog. So let's get started, shall we? Feel free to grab some snacks, some drinks as well, and let's get started, shall we? Alright then guys, the first thing that I wanted to tackle here is the avatar creator or avatar creation, whatever and that is the best word for that. And this is basically going to be triggered the moment that you create a new save file for this game, or you create a new game, right? And in that UI, you're going to be able to create and personalize your character that you're going to be playing as. And I want to give you guys a lot of freedom when it comes to that. At least that's my initial thought as I'm building this avatar creation. You'll be able to select different colors from the color wheel for whatever clothes you're wearing. The colors that it's going to be at, the different types of hair styles, facial hair, color eyes, and all of that kind of stuff, right? And if you're going to be male or female, of course. At least that's what I like to tackle. So let's get started, and I'll come back once I have that in a good place. I am back, and I got this in a good place as the first iteration for the avatar creation. So here's the main title screen, right? And if I were to go to the new game to create a new game file, it gives me this UI here. As a heads up, just wanted to mention that this is not the final UI when it comes to this section. I would definitely need to revamp both UI and making it look a little bit better. But right now, I just want to make it work, and I think it's in a good spot right now. So this is basically going to be the new game UI, where if you haven't recalled that you're brand new here, because it's going to be the name of the character that you're going to have, the world name, and then the seed if you want to have a certain seed when it comes to playing the level, in case maybe you want to replay a level that you liked, or you can leave it blank and it will be created randomly for you. In the right side, here is where the UI is going to be for creating your character. So right now it shows you a little how the character is going to look like right now, and you have this kind of color wheel, somewhat hexagonal color wheel that I have here, and anywhere you click here, it's going to be what the color, whatever you have selected in this drop down here. So you have pants, shoes, arms, shirt, head, hair, eye, and facial hair color, and whatever you select here is going to be what it's going to be used when you clicked on this hexagonal color wheel. I think it's hexagon. I don't know how many sides it has. I'm gonna just say hexagon for now, guys. And as of right now, this is what the color is gonna be like. It may most likely be changing in the future. I may end up changing some of these colors in here that would be closely matched to how the game looks later on down the line. I'm just gonna show you guys what it does right now. Right now I have pants selected for the changing the color. You can change it to red, pinkish, orange, green, purplish, bluish, depending whatever color you want for this. Let's say I go with, red pants, shoes, and got arms. What's actually pretty funny about this, at least for me, is that how I have the character, I have it separated into different parts, right? So I have the head separated, I have the arms separated, and because of that, you can have two different skin tones in here, which is kind of, weird, but I don't know if it's the cool thing. If you guys want to have different skin tones, so I can have green hands or whatever, and then for the head I can have like a different color, right? And then you can change the color of your shirt. I think another thing that would be great in here is to maybe have another slider that will give you how much brightness this is going to be. I don't know yet, but that's something that I like to think about, because some of these colors are pretty dark. Either that or I change the color in here to make it brighter. But regardless, that's how it is for the time being. Different hair color as well, and you can change the eye color. And then you have this slider here, which I don't have the actual assets for the female yet, but this is where I would then change the character if it's going to be female or male. Then this part down here is going to be what the type of hairstyles that you will want to be once I implement it. Same thing for the different pants that you may have, different types of pants and the different shirts. But this is basically the main idea of the avatar creation. And let's just, put a test name here, test world, and let's play it. And this character should be in the game. And I'm hidden behind a tree, and there we go. Look at him, and it's working. So the way that he comes in is that you created is going to be in the actual game, which is not a huge deal, but and I never had this feature before, and it's actually pretty cool. I have this implemented, which is something that I've been wanting to have in this game so far, and I'm excited to have this in the state that it is right now. So that's basically it for the avatar creation or avatar creator. Look at that, it's super rainy here today, and there's a lot of fishes in the water already. Let's go. All right, well, before I get distracted on all of that, gonna be jumping into the next part, and I'll talk to you guys when I get there and see what the next part is gonna be like. So I'll talk to you guys in a bit. The next thing that I want to tackle is going to be the quests for this game and be able to have some objective for the player that is going to be in this world to have something to do. It's kind of rare for games out there that does not have any objectives, and I would like to have objectives for my game and be able to create these quests and have the player to do stuff here. It keeps the player busy, and the player gets to learn more about the world and be able to venture out and figure stuff out, right? And that's my main goal for these quests. So let's get started, and once I have that in a good place and loop you guys in and to see how I implemented this, we'll talk to you guys then. After spending some time on implementing this quest, I got it in a good place where I can show you guys how this is gonna look like. If we come here in the script for the quest, you can see with the layout how a quest looks like in code, and here we have a UID for this quest, and this UID will basically be for differentiating the different types of quests that you may have. You may have similar quests, and this is just the UID that will be used to differentiate between them. You got an action ID and a target ID, which basically correlates together. The action ID is kind of like an action verb or whatever you're going to be doing. So it's either going to be defeat, harvest, origin, collecting. That's going to be for the action ID, and the target ID is going to be what you can be collecting, what are you going to be defeating, what are you going to be harvesting, and all of that kind of stuff. So you can be like the action ID can be defeat, and the target ID tells you what kind of enemy that you got to defeat, right? So it can either be slimes or it can be just an enemy in general. So that's basically the main idea, the premise for these two variables that I have here. The quantity will be how many of that you got to do. So you can be like defeating 5 slimes. The title and description is just the UI, just to show it in the UI so you guys can read it and see what this quest is about. We have a reward ID, which is just what rewards you're going to be getting for this. And then you have an active Boolean here, which tells if this quest is going to be active or not, and the progress, how much progress you have made into this quest. So let's say it was defeating 5 enemies, so you defeated 2, then the progress will be 2. And then you have rewarded IDs, how many items you're going to be rewarded when this quest is completed. That's basically the main code for how a quest looks like. And we can go into the game. In here, if I go to my main menu, which, I'm still in the process of making this look a lot better, but in here on the top I have 3 different tabs, which is the main tab, which is my inventory. And if you look at the last one, I added a new tab in here, which is basically going to be where the quest is going to be like. So if I come in here, I do have some gray boxing UI in here for the time being, which is the first button on the top is going to be what is the active quest that I have, and this other tab is going to be where all the completed quests is going to be at. So right now I have 2 active quests in here, where one is the tree removal, and it says I've been sent out to cut down some trees, and it says I need to cut down 1 tree in here, and it tells me the rewards on what I'm going to be getting. So I'm going to be getting some melons, and I'm going to be getting some fish in here for it's just random rewards for the time being. And I can make it active in here, and what that active means is that it's going to show it in the UI. So on the left side, a UI pops up, tells you the current progress of this. If that way you don't have to come back into the UI, go into here and click on that, trying to figure out how much progress you made. You can actually see it on the left side here, and it tells you the current progress of it, and it stays there. So let's shop this tree here. Let's pick up this axe in here, and let's shop this bad boy in here. And then once you shop it, I shop down all the trees. The UI out here on the left ends up disappearing, you know, sliding to the left, and basically it just says it's complete already. Probably gonna be tweaking that a little bit to show, hey, maybe it kind of does some type of animation, says it's completed, and then it goes away rather than instantly going away, right? Once it's completed, it goes away, and you can see in your inventory that you got your rewards for completing that quest. So you got your melons and your fish, and that's basically the main premise in here. So if I go back to my quest, you notice that my current quests that I have here that are not completed, one is gone, and if I go to my other tab, now it's in here and it's done, completed, and I have that in a great spot. So the main premise for this quest is going to be that you're going to have some villagers that can give you quests, and you're going to go out and complete it and come back into the villager that gave you this quest, and then he's going to give you the reward for completing that certain quest, right? Or you may end up picking up some random quest as you traverse into a world and finding new things, and that's what this quest is going to be out for, making the player have some type of objective for this game. So it's in a pretty good spot right now. I'm excited to have this in here now that I have stuff to do and be able to, you know, have villagers send out some quests, or you can be finding out throughout the level as you are venturing out there. Gonna be calling it for that for the time being. We'll see what happens, and we'll see what's the next part, what I can be showing you guys, and what is gonna be the next thing. So I'll talk to you guys then. Alright then guys, so I'm back. What I wanted to talk to you guys about this section is going to be performance. There are some performance improvements that I needed to do in here, optimizations I should say, and I would like to go through and show you guys what I've done and what type of optimizations I've done to make improve the performance of this game. So I may end up diving in a little bit into code maybe. I don't know what's the plan for this as I'm talking through it right now. It's just gonna happen live, I guess you could consider it, right? Because I didn't make any plans on how I wanted to talk about this, but it's gonna be performance updates. And one of the performance improvements optimizations I've done is for the AStarGrid2D. I know in the previous devlog I mentioned that I made some improvements on it, and even though it was definitely a good improvement that I did, it still needed more improvements in there. It wasn't the final thing that I did on the last devlog. So I wanted to talk to you about what was part 2, I guess, you know, part 2 of optimizing the AStarGrid2D. So let me tell you what the problem was with this AStarGrid2D. And the problem with that is that my world is in procedural generation, right? And I don't render the entire world. So I render it by chunks. So I have 9 different chunks, and as you can see here, consider this being the 9 different chunks, right? So in the center chunk is going to be where the player lives. It's going to be at, and everything else around it is what's going to be rendered. So now I don't have to render something that's all the way over here. That's kind of like useless because I will never ever see it. So I'm rendering all this stuff. So the issue here when it comes to generating the AStarGrid2D is that when the player decides to go to a different chunk, right? The problem there is that once it changes to that new chunk, the AStarGrid logic would iterate through the entire grid once again and reinitialize everything all over again, even though it didn't need to reinitialize everything, right? Because I already knew parts of this level. So if I were to move to the right here, so that means I'm gonna be generating a new grid here, and the grid that on the left is gonna go away. This grid is gonna go away, and the player is gonna be moved. Let me remove that, take that off. So this is where the player is going to be at now. This is this new position, or where it's going to be at. The only place that I need to reinitialize the AStarGrid2D and update its positions on where it's not walkable, it's only going to be on the new chunks that got generated. These other chunks that were on this side, I already knew about it already. So I don't really need to go through those chunks and reinitialize everything. And that was the problem that I was doing. I was reinitializing everything here, even though I already knew about it. The only thing I need to initialize is the new chunks that got generated. So basically that's what I did. And I even made something even better. What I did is that I removed the entire for loop of me iterating through these entire grids and trying to find what positions are not walkable. And instead of doing a for loop for that entirety, because it could be very expensive. You can have a whole bunch of trees in here in this chunk. Instead of looping through that entire process, I basically made those positions not to be walkable. The moment that the generator, the procedural generation, is marking this tile to have a tree or not, the AStarGrid2D to be not walkable. And by doing that, so that improved the performance a lot better. And I have it in a great spot right now when it comes to the AStarGrid2D. The only problem that I did have with this though, which kind of sucked for me, but I did find a good solution for it, was that so the moment that I switched over to this new grid, all the positions from the AStar grid that was here initially previously gets cleared out. And I don't know why it gets cleared out. I wish I had a boolean in there and saying, hey, don't clear out this grid because I need it. I don't know why it completely clears this entire grid, because I need to update the AStar grid to know about this new chunk, right? And the moment that I do that and I call the AStarGrid2D update, it completely removes all the positions that I had in here previously. So what I had to do was keep track of these positions before the AStarGrid2D automatically removes it, and then reinitialize it after the update function that I call. And there were some issues with that as well. So let's go into the script. The problem with that is I was iterating through all those positions, and that still kind of created a little bit of lag. So instead what I did was to keep cache all these positions instead, right? So I kept the cache, and in the update function or process, I processed all those cache positions and spread those initialization of making it not walkable into different frames, rather than doing it in one frame. So I spread it out throughout the update loop, and that improved performance a lot. So that's actually a pretty good, good thing that I did in here. So I'm processing, let's see, 200 every 0.05 seconds. By doing this, it improved my performance a lot better in this section when it came to the AStarGrid2D. The next performance update that I did was the trees. The trees that I had in this game was causing a lot of issues in here when it came to performance, especially when I was going to a new chunk. It's still the same thing when I'm going through a new chunk, right? And that problem with that is that when I was generating the new trees, it was spawning I had it so that it spawns this area 2D, and I was using that area 2D to basically enable a shader for my trees, since previously the trees it was generating a tile map. So I used to have the trees still here, right? And it used to be a tile map. It's not a tile map anymore, and I'm gonna go through it and see how I did it so you guys can see. But it originally was part of a tile map. What I was doing is that every time the procedural generation was determining that, hey, this tile needed a tree, I would spawn an area 2D behind it, and I would use this area 2D so that when the player gets near it or enters that area 2D, it will trigger this shader. I enable a shader so that you can still see the player behind it, as you can see right here. If I didn't have this, the player would be blocked by the tree. But I wanted it to enable this part of the shader so that when the player gets nearby, it activates this shader. The reason why I went in that direction was the same reason shaders. If you manipulate the shader for this tile, it would do it for all the trees. So I was using this area 2D to detect if I'm nearby a tree, and then I'll transition it to an alternative tile that had that shader. So that's the main premise that I was doing. And the problem with that is spawning colliders in here, or not even spawning, just I have an object pooling, right? And I had an object pooling of all of these area 2Ds that I had. And every time you make them visible, it will make the entire game chug for a couple seconds, or for like a second. It will freeze the game. I don't know why it does that in here. I don't know what Godot is doing in the back end to make this happen, because it doesn't happen in Unity in my experience. You can enable and disable colliders, and there's no chugginess happening, no lag or nothing like that. So let me know in the comments if you guys have experienced that. But in my case, I have, and it's crazy. And even if I were to just do it for one collider only and I make that visible, just one collider, it will freeze the game for a second, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just my experience. Maybe it's just something that's happening in my end and not for you guys, but feel free to let me know in the comments if you guys are experiencing that. So what I did instead is because that was my thought process, maybe this will fix it, was because I didn't know that the issue was with the colliders. Wow, this guy came in here all the way, huh? Just trying to look for me. Anyways, I didn't know what the issue was with the colliders at the moment. So my thought process was to remove this tree from the tile map and make it to its own node. So I made it its own scene. and it had all the colliders that I needed for it, and changed that entire logic. So it took me a little bit to make that work, but after some time I was able to have that in a good place where I was able to spawn the trees for all the different types, right? So use that instead. When I tried that, that still was the issue, you know, and it had to do with just with the colliders and all of that, and it's just crazy. I had a pool of all the trees, have a pool of all the different types of trees that I have in here, including the trunks that I have in here, the tree trunks, and it still does it. I don't know what's going on in the back end for that in my project in here. I don't know if it's just me or not. But then again, I still found some other areas that I can improve on this. So what I did, I have my initial grid, right, that renders the entire game. So if I go into the game and I zoom out, this box in here is the different chunks. So we got 3 chunks on the top, 3 chunks in the center, and 3 chunks on the bottom, right? So that's my entire grid. That's the main grid. So what I did for the trees was to do basically the same thing, but I would do a smaller scale. I would do a smaller scale of another chunk. So like, it's basically another chunk that is overlaid on top of my main grid, but at a much smaller scale. And in this area is where I will render all the trees. So if you grab this chunk here, which is a 30 by 30, I divided it into 4 squares, and I did the same thing here where so I have this smaller chunk overlaid on top of this bigger chunk, and any trees that fall within this chunk is going to be rendered. So any tree, if there was a tree here, it will not render. If there's a tree in here, it will render. And that definitely improved the performance of the game, but it still wasn't perfect because it still was some chugginess happening that was causing the game, and that had to do with the collisions. So after doing that, it did improve the performance a little bit more, but it was still creating some minor lag spike or whatever you want to call it. And then it's just in the end, it just had to do with these collisions, and I don't know why making all these collisions, enabling them, will cause this issue. So what I did instead was to, instead of grabbing all the trees and making those collisions enable all at the same time, I spread it out throughout different frames as well, and with that, it ended up working. So if I zoom in here now, there is no lag happening. So if I come in here and I go to a new, a little too dark in here, but bear with me guys, there isn't any lag happening, or at least not as much as it was before. So if you guys seen it in previous Devlog or in other places, you will know that there was some lag happening, but not anymore. You can see things transitioning. You can see the trees about to transition, as you can see, and there is no more lag. And I'm so happy about that. You have no idea how much happy. I don't think that's the right word. I'm very excited. Let's say I'm very excited to have that in a good place right now. You can see everything transitioning, and I have this in a really good spot, and I'm very excited about that. And I also did this collision, enabling them throughout different frames for the fishes and for NPCs as well, because fish has their own collision shapes for them, and same thing for enemies, right? So I also did the same thing for that, and it's perfectly smooth right now, and I'm very excited about that. And if you guys are interested in how I did that, I actually did all this performance update on a live stream. I recently started doing live streams, if I haven't mentioned it before. I basically did this improvement during the live stream, so including moving the trees to its own scenes, creating this additional chunks that rendering the trees, right? I did all of this stuff on the live stream. So if you guys are interested in any of that, feel free to join my live streams. You can watch my previous live streams. If you go back, free to go watch it, and you can see my thought process on how I went about this and how I created this performance update for this part of the game. At least for the month of June, I plan to stream 3 times a week, but unless something comes up, then I may end up not going for it. But yeah, that's basically the performance update, guys. And the one is just the final thing that I did was I improved the character movement for my character and any other character that inherits from character body 2D. I improved the movement on it. Before, the logic that I had before was not, it was kind of weird, and I didn't really like it. So I made some changes for the character movement to use acceleration and all of that, and make it a little bit more smoother when the player is moving around. Nothing crazy happening here. Everything's still the same. But you can also see, like, if I run this way and then I run the other way, you can see it kind of, you know, chug a little bit, stay back a little bit because it's trying to transition to the left, right? So, you know, that's actually a pretty good improvement. The other thing I did is that there was some issues with the previous logic. If I were to increase the delta time of the game, as you can see, the player would completely disappear. But with this brand new logic, if I were ever to update the speed of the character at any time in this game, I can do that. Or if I can slow it down, I don't know if can I get it. No, I can't. Right? I should probably make a really smaller value in here so I can slow down delta time. But yeah, that's basically a really small update, and that's basically it for this devlog, guys. I do have additional bug fixes that I've done in this game since the last devlog. So if you guys are interested of all these bug fixes, feel free to check the description. I lay out all the bug fixes and any changes that I've done since the last devlog will be laid out in the description. So if you guys are interested in reading that, feel free to check it out. But yeah, that's basically it for this devlog. I'm excited where this part of the game is at right now. I know I keep saying that, but every time there's new updates happening and features added, and I'm just so excited to have this. I hope you guys enjoy this I hope you guys enjoy this devlog. If you guys have any feedback or anything like that, feel free to put in the comments and I'll definitely read them. But yeah, if you guys really enjoyed it, feel free to subscribe if you haven't yet, or even if you're brand new, you know, feel free to just subscribe, and it's free and you can always change your mind later on. But yeah, if you love game dev, you guys seeing me work on demos and all of that, making live streams, making games as well, feel free to subscribe. Love to have you guys in here. And that's basically about it, guys. And let's see what the next devlog is. And as I mentioned before, be doing a lot more live streams, and at least for the month of June, I definitely will be doing 3 times a month. 3 times a week. There's Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays in the morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time. So if I'm not doing anything crazy or anything beforehand, usually I shouldn't be, but if I'm not doing anything, I'll definitely be I'll be live streaming on those days. But if you can't make it, it will be uploaded later on. So but yeah, that's basically about it, guys. I hope you guys have a great day and a wonderful night, and I'll talk to you guys later.